Hi everyone, this is an answer key to the Polynomials and Quadratics review. Polynomials and Quadratics are like a huge part of our test at the end of the year, so I want to make sure you guys had some good video to watch. So number one, given the function, okay, they gave me a function and they want me to find zeros, okay, to the equation that they also gave me. Oh, so here's g of x, here's f of x, replace f of x, solve this equation. Find where y is equal to 0. All right, so I'm going to replace this with a 0, and I'm going to replace this with x plus 1. What a mess. I'm going to erase it and start over. 0 equals 2. Instead of f of x, I'm going to put in x plus 1, and I need to square that. So this is what I am finding the zeros of, otherwise known as solving. All right, in order to solve this, I only have one x in the equation. The easiest way to do this would be to look at it with a 0 over here, divide by 2. I am using inverse operations because there's only one x. Divide by 2. I now have x plus 1 squared equals 0. Then I'm going to take a square root and put a plus or minus. I now have x plus 1 equals plus or minus 0, which, by the way, is just 0. And I'm going to subtract 1 and end up with x equals negative 1. Now, when you looked at this equation, 2x plus 1 squared equals 0, if you had thought to square this out and get the other form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, you would have also been able to solve it by factoring, but it would have taken you longer. Question 2. Given the function, solve this equation. If I'm going to solve this equation, I'm going to replace f of x with what they gave me, and I'm going to set y equal to 0. So I will have this. The function x plus 2 squared minus 2 times the function x plus 2 equals 0. So I just substituted x plus 2 in everywhere they said f of x. I'm solving, and I cannot this time do inverse operations. Inverse ops is a no, because there's an x here and there's an x there. I need to clean it up. I'm going to square this out. I could use the box method. It's x squared, 2x, and 4. I'm going to distribute. Watch your signs. I'm going to combine like terms. X squared plus 2x. That's it. These are 0. So to solve this, I could pretend like it's ax squared plus bx plus c, but the c is a 0. Or I could think factoring, and this has a GCF, so I'm going to take out an x. Okay, so I'm going to divide out an x, in other words, GCF. That leaves me with x plus 2, and then I can set my factors equal to 0. So you need to think about GCF every time it looks like you might want to take out a factor. It's not always 2 sets of parentheses. So when I set my factors equal to 0, I get x equals 0 and x equals negative 2. So my two answers are 0 and negative 2. All right, the third one. They gave me a function, f of x, a function, g of x, and I need to find the solutions to the equation. So I'm not just going to replace g of x with 0. I'm going to create the equation first and then get my equals 0. So x plus 3 equals 2 times the function, which is x plus 1 squared. This tells me I'm going to have to use the quadratic formula probably at some point. Okay, so I have to square first. X plus 3 equals 2 times. You could do the box method and call this x plus 1, x plus 1. You're going to get x squared plus 2x plus 1, because 1 times 1 gave me a 1. This is x squared, 2 x's. You're going to distribute the 2. So you have x plus 3 equals 2x squared plus 4x plus 2. And then if you notice, you want to keep your x squared positive. So you're going to bring everything to the right-hand side. So subtract 3, and I combined like terms this way. So 2x squared plus 3x minus 1 equals 0. You could try factoring that or the quadratic formula. It's not going to factor because it says simplest radical form. So a is 2, b is 3, c is negative 1, b squared is 9. X equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 minus 4 times 2 times negative 1 all over 2 times 2. Answers down at the bottom of the paper. See if you can take it to that point. Looks like the next thing you'll need is the number underneath your square root. All over 4. And that's all you're going to need to finish it up. I guess it's a 17. Question number 4. Given the function f of x equals x plus 3, you're going to solve the equation below. This time it tells you to round. So I'm thinking again, it's not going to factor. I'm thinking quadratic formula. All right, so g of x, they didn't give it to me. So I guess I'm going to replace that with my 0. 5 minus my function, x plus 3 squared. I have to square this out. So I could write it twice and square it out. Remember that it's all after the minus sign, and keep your 0 in your equation. So this will be x squared plus 6x plus 9. So it's 5 minus x squared minus 6x minus 9 equals 0. And then I don't like the x squared being negative. I'm going to combine my 5 with my minus 9. They're on the same side of the equals. So we got negative x squared minus 6x minus 4. Divide by negative 1. Negative 1 all the way through. X squared plus 6x plus 4 equals 0 still. And it said go decimal. So a is 1, b is 6, c is 4. X equals negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 4 times 1 times 4 all over 2 times 1. And then type that into your calculator and get your decimals. So your answer should come out 7.8 and negative 1.8, because I'm looking at the answer key.